It's the Al Travis Show. We're very lucky to have him. He's Jerry Groskreutz. He's our farmer extraordinaire. I'm a little upset with him right now today. We'll talk about that in a second. Fourth generation, 45 years in the farm, and doing this program. I thank him for doing it. How you doing, Jerry?
Well, I'm doing all right. Was a little frustrated earlier in the week, and I did it to myself again. I promised myself every year I'm not going to do this, but I keep doing it.
And what did you do, my friend?
Well, I went for a little higher bean yield, so I plant mostly fuller season beans.
Okay.
And so mine weren't quite ready earlier this week and last weekend, while lots of other farmers were. So mine still had some leaves on. I couldn't combine them. And I drive home watching clouds of dust in the field as other farmers are combining them. When they have a lot of acres, they plant some shorter seasons so they can get started. So then the fuller season, then they can combine those last so they don't get so dry so they aren't bouncing off your cab windows.
All right, so that all makes some sense, but I don't understand what you're upset about. You're going to have better yields and get lower prices, so you're going to lose more money largely.
Let's put a little rationale. Could you repeat that? I didn't quite follow that.
You're gonna lose money and make it up in volume, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And we've had some pretty good yield reports in the middle 60s, sometimes whole fields in the low 70s. And just for easy figuring, if we get a little bit of a rally and you get $10 a bushel, you can end up getting 10, 15 bushels an acre more beans than you planned. That's another $100 or $150 an acre. So that helps ease the pain of lower prices.
Sure. So you're just looking at the others getting out early, which they shouldn't have done, not being as smart as you, and you're ready to rock and roll. I'm seeing this as good for you, buddy.
Well, let's just hope it works out. It always has before. But when you've got a lot of acres, you have to get going. So they plant some earlier seasons so they can get started with harvest. And then by the time they finish, they're combining fuller season beans that weren't quite ready earlier. So they're maybe closer to 12, 13% rather than the 9 or 10% beans. And I've done that too when it really gets dry, like we've had ideal weather. I let the record show again. I'm satisfied with the weather. Just wanted to point that out.
But well, let me ask you, let me go with this, sir. How far behind are you in that this week we're looking at high 70s, 80 degrees in southern Minnesota? Is that going to drive those bad boys up?
Well, not mine because they weren't quite as far along, but that's why you want to space out your maturities and kind of space your harvest, because if ideally you can combine 13% beans, you can combine 14% beans. They dock you a little bit on the moisture, but you have a lot less shatter loss. If the beans get too dry, when that sickle hits them, they'll shake and sometimes the pod will pop open, or it'll pop open when it's going into the head. And you can sit there, even with the Al Travis Show on the radio, you can still hear beans popping off the windshield.
Oh, gotcha. All right. So can I tell you why I'm kind of mad at you today?
Oh, well, get in line, Al. Pick a number and get in line.
No, this is self-inflicted on you, my friend. There are certain times that a person knows there are things he has to do.
Yeah.
You go to a wedding. Yep. You should bring a wedding gift, right? They're feeding you dinner, doing the thing. Someone's having a child, and you go to see them. You bring a little baby gift, right?
Yeah.
How do you not let me know that it's soybean week in Minnesota so I could have sent you a present, my friend? Never heard of this thing before. Very excited for you. Do you do something every day of soybean week? How do you celebrate, Jerry? Because I wasn't invited to the party, and that kind of teased me off.
Well, usually I'm a little busy during this week combining beans or getting ready to do it. So I don't want you to think I don't like you, but maybe I'm a little preoccupied with important things over having a party for Al.
Not a party for Al, for soybean week. The governor, Tim Walz, released that he's declaring the 29th through the 5th as soybean week in Minnesota. I just can't believe we haven't had that week designated before. And shouldn't it really be the month? Why do we not have a month of soybeans?
Yeah. Yep. I think we should. And I didn't even see Governor Walz's announcements. I guess I was a little preoccupied. I know in the fall, my wife, and the spring, my wife does have a tendency of saying, I get a little bit of tunnel vision.
Well, this came via the governor's office itself, and I'm just like, this can't be the first time we've ever declared that. And I think to your point, why would you declare it in the week when everybody's out there working and not seeing it anyway? It seems a little off put. And then he did blame Trump for the lack of soybean on the market because the exports. But does he not listen to the Jerry Groskreutz show? Because you have said before, X number of beans in the world. If China doesn't get from us, they get it from somewhere else, then guess what? Those other people are going to come buy from us. This really hasn't. Do you believe it's affected the price of the beans?
I don't think it has a whole lot yet, and it'd be hard to prove that it has or it hasn't. But we got to see some new crop export sales really start showing up, or the market might get really worried. But here's what this broker I talked to a couple times a day, the Chinese have been around for a little longer than the United States, and they are sharp negotiators, sharp business people. So you know what they might be doing? Apparently the Trump administration is negotiating with China right now on this trade deal, right?
Yep.
So
put a little squeeze
China's
on
going to have to buy some beans from us anyway because they need the beans. So guess what they're going to do in the negotiations? And they're saying, well, Mr. Trump, we will take X million metric ton of beans as the concessions. We'll buy them from you when there's no other place in the world that they could buy them from anyway, but they'll get some concessions. I think that's probably what they're going to be doing.
You, Mr. Conspiracy Theorist, you think that Trump doesn't understand that? Him and his people aren't sitting there going, they got to buy those beans from somewhere. They're going to be coming back. It'll be interesting to see. Hey, I got to go to break, Jerry. When we come back, really sad news, actually, but in a way, weird good news about farmers declaring bankruptcy, and I guess we're in the 9th district. I don't know that, but we'll talk about that coming up here in a minute. He's Jerry Groskreutz on the Al Travis Show. We've got him, Jerry Groskreutz, on the program with us, and I don't want to talk about it, but we should. It's a survey from the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis. Chapter 12, bankruptcies, which is a farmer bankruptcy. It's different than most people bankruptcy. I don't know why, but you get a special deal. They've gone up in the last 2 quarters, and they say if 2025 and 6 go the same way, it's only going to get worse, which obviously makes sense. But when you get into it, Jerry, I don't want to put it, it doesn't sound that bad. We had close to, it looks like, I'm trying to read the graph, in 2020, 45 bankruptcies in 2020 after the COVID deal. But when you look at 23 and even 24, it was almost zero. We're talking about 9 bankruptcies filed last year. Now, it's tough for whoever went bankrupt. I'm not trying to make fun. But from a high of 40, is it that bad, Jerry? I'm sorry for the guys that lost their shorts. This is not my point. But from 40 to 9, okay.
Ironically, just before we went on the air, I was doing an interview with an ag analyst, and it might be a little dicey a year from now or this winter, when we're looking at renewing the operating loans for another year. And I made the comment that what a difference it would make if corn rallied 50 cents a bushel, went up to 440, 450, and beans added $1 a bushel going from 950 to 1050. It would make a world of difference, especially because we have a lot of bushels to sell. And this ag analyst, former ag banker, said the exact same thing. So we aren't that far to being from here to there when things would look a lot better. So let's just hope that we can get the trade deal straightened out with China, because corn exports we're way ahead of where we were a year ago on corn export sales and soybean meal and soybean oil. It's just the actual whole beans that we're behind on right now because of this tit for tat with China.
In all of this tit for tat, where are we sitting with, because you're always 6 months ahead, Jerry. This I know since I met you. You're already looking at input costs for next year and what you're doing. You're probably buying all that stuff to put it in the barn somewhere or something. What are you looking at for next year already? I mean, are the inputs way up?
The fertilizer that's going on this fall was up like 5-8%, which,
Okay.
given what we've been hearing year over year, just with inflation and everything, I thought, boy, that's not too bad.
No.
And so, if you're a farmer and you've done your soil test, you know what you need, your first thought is, well, gee, my retailer has it in his shed. Why not get it on this fall? Because last time I checked, they won't even give you a price yet for next spring, because who
Yeah.
knows what's going to happen between now and then. And if it's coming from overseas somewhere, might have to come up the Mississippi River. Who
Mhm.
knows what the price is going to be? So why wouldn't you get it locked in now, even get it spread what you can this fall, and
Yeah.
then you're set to go for next spring. So a lot of farmers have been operating that way already. Now, the one fly in the ointment there is if you are a little bit financially insecure,
Hmm.
well, I maybe don't have to pay for that bill now or right after the first of the year. I can wait till next spring and buy myself some time, and I can see where some farmers would be thinking that. But the other thing about the financial stress, it's a lot tougher on younger farmers than it is old guys like me,
You've been
because
been
we've
there,
been
done
at
that.
it for a while. We've got some equity built up in land and machinery
Mhm.
and equipment versus the guy just starting out. Because I was just starting out in the late 70s, got in right at the high prices before the farm crisis of the 80s. And a lot of guys my age got wiped out because of 20% interest rates
Yeah.
and low prices. And that's what's tough where you get these downturns. It's always the hardest on the next generation because they don't have the equity. Now, I was lucky. My dad, my grandpa, my great grandpa were farmers, so I had some
Yeah.
help behind me. And if the young guy doesn't have a lot of help behind him, it could be tough yet.
Let me ask you this: if I'm putting myself in this young farmer situation, and you're like, how many years could you put off putting in nitrates or putting in all this other stuff? Could you survive and say, I don't have it this year, we're just not going to put it in, we'll raise our crop next year, and if it comes in nice, then how many years can you go without all that stuff before you really see a downturn?
Well, I'm a classic example because nitrogen, if you're raising corn, you have to put the nitrogen on every year.
Yeah.
However, the phosphorus and the potassium, the
Yeah.
macronutrients, I don't have to put any on this next year, probably the following year, because in the good times I built up my soil tests.
Okay.
So the phosphorus and potassium levels are very high. So I won't
Okay.
have to put that on. But there again, it all depends on the land I've been farming. I've been farming almost my whole life.
Yeah.
So we've got it built up. But there was a time in the 80s when we didn't put any on for 2, 3, 4 years and still got really good yields because the soil
Yeah.
test was up there.
Gotcha. Okay. One last thing. Did you go to Farm Aid? Did they get your free tickets? Were you running Farm Aid? I bet you were. You're in
I,
everything.
this is going to come as a shock, Al. I was out the farm getting things ready for harvest.
Jerry, that excuse runs so old. You've been getting ready for harvest since you got it planted, and now you get the chance to go see these people at Farm Fest, and you don't take advantage.
Uh, if it isn't a specific farm show like Farm Fest or the Farm and Power Show, a concert, not exactly my
But you
interest.
and Willie Nelson, you know you liked Willie Nelson back in the day. You know you did. You would have been hearing him. It would have been great. All
Yeah.
right. Jerry, I got to fly.
Oh,
Appreciate you doing this for me. What?
and hope you enjoy this nice golfing weather. Good golfing for Al is good
Love it.
harvest weather for Jerry and the rest of us.
Exactly right. I don't know why you guys chase all them noisiums out of the field. Is that why they're everywhere in the golf course now? Them little black bugs? I hate them. Hate them.
You mean the ladybugs?
No, the not ladybug. No, the really small black ones that bite like a son of a gun.
I must have some sour blood. They don't bother me.
Oh, they're horrible. All right, I got to fly. Talk to you, Jerry. Appreciate you. Jerry Groskreutz on the Al Travis Show. More right after this.